Hey, this is DetroitBob. We're going to do a mashup of a couple visits at a couple local places. I go to this place called Valpo Vintage. I got a couple boxes or bags from them. We're going to continue here with Valpo Vintage. And I've got a couple stops here and a couple bags full of stuff that I'm going to go through. I'm going to total them up. I've been looking for soul and they've been coming through on a lot of old scratchy 45s. But I like those, and I like digging through them, I like IDing them, and I like pricing them. So that's what we're going to do next. I swore I was going to never buy a 78 again. But sure enough, guess what I did? I bought a 78. And another thing, I said I was going to never buy a cassette. But sure enough, I found this little thing from Portugal. Skilly Dan from 72 to 78 picked it up. Just looked a little odd, a little rare. And yes, I did. I bought those 78s. When you see Hoagie Carmichael Stardust on 78, the same day you're picking up Stardust, the album by Willie Nelson, you buy it. So let's go through all this stuff, total it up, and see what kind of gems we got in this stack of stuff. Hey, DetroitBob, we're going to go do a little thrifting today with my daughter and my grandson, Amos. So nothing gets you in the mood better than a little old 90s rock. And I love this band, Blues Traveler. I saw them live, and these guys frickin' jam. So enjoy your day, put on some good music, and get out there. All right, I'm back at this place, Valpo Vintage. I've had some good luck here before with 45, so let's check this out. Once again, when it says open, that means I'm buying. So let's find some vinyl. All right, back at Valpo Vintage, and I always flip through their 45s. You never know what you're gonna find. I got some good stuff here.
Good oldies in there. I mean, the condition's a little rough on them, that's why. We'll get you in another episode.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
$14.98. Would you like a bag?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great. And make sure you check out the page called RockMine. I'll get you guys in there again. They'll be storming down your doors any minute now. Oh yeah, put it on that one, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good project, but I'll tell you what, there's more people online doing their thing now than ever before.
Yeah.
You know, so you're competing against all these other.
In this economy, everybody needs a side hustle.
Right,
apparently.
right. So this is my side hustle. Except it's not bringing me any money. I'm
It's
basically
fun.
hoarding records. Let's call it what it is.
And did you need a receipt?
If you could, that'd be great. I like your garage rock.
Thanks.
You're playing too, by the way.
Is it okay in the bag?
Yep,
Okay.
perfect. All right, Valpo Vintage came through. I got about 28 45s for 14 bucks. So we're coming back to this place. It's going to be on our regular stop. All right, that last stop came through pretty good. They had some old 45s, a little beat up, a little dusty, but definitely got some gems in there. 28 45s for $14. So that was a little bit better than the Barnes & Noble bookstore, who wanted $32 for one LP. So I'm telling you, 45s are where it's at. I got one more stop, and then I got to go get my hair cut because I'm looking a little scrubby, and probably need a good shave too. So wish me luck. All right, back at the thrift store. You remember Stephanie from the RockMine thrift store episode. So let's see what she's got and check it out. You might say, why do I keep going back to this rack? Well, this is where I found the African folk song record that I sold for 200 bucks. So Stephanie doesn't have anything for me today, but I'm always going to flip through this rack because I had some good luck here. These things are old, they're musty, they're picked over. Show tunes, symphonic, nobody buys this stuff. But once in a while, you get a rare, obscure African folk song record that sells for $200 that you paid $1 for. So far that rack's not doing me any good. All right, try this one. Pretty rough shape. Classical gas guy. Rocky. A lot of religious, a lot of polka. And that's not on Campbell's version, that's for sure. So nothing here that really jumps out at me, but we tried. All right, so we hit a place I call Valpo, and I hit the Barnes & Noble vinyl section. No 7-inch, but I was fairly impressed with it. Nice, neat, and clean. Very expensive. I hit the thrift store down on the square, which is called Vintage Valpo. Now I got to stop and get this cleaned up with the record guru hair cutter extraordinaire Danielle on the north side of town. Maybe she can do a straight razor shave on this. We'll see. But I got to get cleaned up because I got to be in public and represent the vinyl community, so I can't look like a mess. So that's what we do when we go to Valpo. Oh, also stopped in and saw Stephanie. She didn't have anything for me, but she knows I'm looking for 45s, so she is going to be on the lookout. So all in the day of a vinyl hunter, you just got to keep up with it. Later. DetroitBob just got in town again, and I'm a mess. I need a shave, I need a haircut. So I came to Danielle, who is the haircut extraordinaire in a place called Valpo. And I just happened to stop by and get some 45s on the way at another place in Valpo. So in about a half hour, I'm going to be feeling a lot better. I'm going to be looking a lot better. And she's always giving me a good tip on music. So right there, it's worth it. Cheers. All right, haircut, eyebrows trimmed, and a bag full of 45. DetroitBob is ready to hit the streets, feeling a lot better and looking better. Even got some great music tips. So here we go. All right, let's check out this place. Last time I was here, they had some LPs, and I sort of hit it with a classic rock collection. All right, I'm flying through the shelf as I usually do. I go in here and I'm out of here in 2 minutes. And if I get a hit, I stop, I pick it up, and I pay. But I usually don't. But I never stop trying because I've hit a big cache of classic rock records in here once. And you just got to catch them when they've just been dropped off. And that doesn't happen very often. So I'll flip through them, and eventually it's like catching a fish. You feel the tug on the hook, and you're just reel it in. I don't know if I'm going to find anything today, but we'll see. A lot of religious, a lot of folk, gospel stuff, just picked over stuff that nobody wants. But you know what? You just keep trying, and you keep trying, and eventually you're going to hit it big. And that's the way it is with these things. You just keep looking, and you keep going back, and eventually you'll find one. Don't give up. You know, persistence is really the key in vinyl hunting. There's no 45s in here. But I'm like, yeah, I might find a good LP. You never know. So that's the key. Just keep looking. And look at that. Floyd Kramer. Signed, sealed, delivered, and paid for. So right there, it was worth coming. Picking up a Floyd Kramer for a couple bucks at a Goodwill. This is another place I had good luck at. And this is where I found that $200 sale African folk art album. So we'll see what they got. right, these look interesting. Jerry Mulligan, Jazz Guru, a couple of nice clean copies. Something at the Fillmore East. Anything Fillmore is good. This looks very interesting to me. Prestige, Jamaican, Latin, Bohannon. If you're a Motown fan, you should know that name. Beat up, but I'm buying it, and I'm buying this just for the cover. Badass. All right, Detroit Bob, we're back at one of my favorite dives. I'm gonna see if they have any 45s in here. Maybe even check out some LPs. All right, here we go. That's a good one. I'm gonna get that one right there. Townsy Hall. So you get some good country in here.
I haven't had a chance to look at these yet. They definitely seem smaller.
Okay, they might be 78s.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just pulled these out of the box. I just
Okay, cool.
refilled these this morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this looks like a fresh batch.
Yeah, I just put these in. I don't know what size these are.
Those are 78s. I'll look through them.
Okay.
Yeah, just leave them right there.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Stephanie.
Rock on.
All right, cool. Yeah, the YouTube page is going great. I got almost 70,000 views in 28 episodes now.
Dude, rock on.
So make sure you check it out and subscribe. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so we got some 78s here. You never know what you're gonna get in here. You could have a Robert Johnson. So I always look through them. As you can tell, this is one of my regular stops, and I'm going to zip through these pretty quick because I'll sum them up at the end. Bottom line is, I'm zipping through records. I'm looking for certain labels. You know the drill. You got only so much time. You have only so much money, and you want to get out of there with something in hand. I'm not finding any 45s today, but that's okay because I found the Valpo vintage ones earlier. I've had the best luck on LPs in this place. I get a lot of university, library, sort of high-end collector stuff here. And this is where I found that African folk album that sold for over $200. So yes, I'm definitely going to take a long, slow look at these records. Are LPs my forte? No. But I'm never going to pass up a good rack of LPs just because I can't find 45s on that day. So I'll give them a good look. I'll pick up some gems, and you never know. I could have my gem of the week right out of this batch. So let's keep looking, and let's see what Stephanie's got laid out for me this week. Because I tell you what, she's delivered before, and I believe she can deliver again. The bottom line is there's vinyl, and I'm... All right, let's see what we got here. Here is the first stack, and I actually bought this back in March, so it's not like I'm getting to it late. I just had it set aside, but this has been very helpful. This Emily at Valpo Vintage Antiques, Bargains, and Collectibles, and they're on 208 East Lincoln Way, Valparaiso, Indiana. I've had good luck with them. So I've been looking for soul. So sure enough, you know, when you see Philly Groove, Delphonics, it's a cutout, you're gone. You almost wonder, is that the cover? Is that a cover? You know, everybody knows all notes, but I don't know if it's the same song or not. This is really, really beat up. But, you know, I don't care. I'm just like, this looks pretty rare. But I'm thinking maybe it's just a placeholder. I'm really tuned into Gordy Records because that's a Motown label. And here you have The Temptations, What Love Has Joined, backed with It's Growing. And you say, well, those are B-sides. No, they're not. It was a single, and it's a little more rare. Bongo guitar. Boy, if that doesn't sound like a rockabilly Kiss Crazy Baby. And so now I'm buying just out of those great labels from Mercury. Here it is, Dinah Washington, Brooke
Benton. And they teamed up on Baby You Got What It Takes. And another one, It Takes a Mighty Fine Love or something like that. But they've done quite a few duets. And they're really, really good together. I think they had one of them was featured on Mad Men. So you see the kind of label that I'm looking for, this old single color label with these vertical stripes. And here you go, Les Paul, as in Les Paul guitar. And I'm just buying off of look almost. I'm looking for the antique jacket. Here's the original MGM. It doesn't even match the record. Les Paul, Mary Ford. And I'm looking for obscure. So I'm not looking for hits anymore. I'm beyond that phase in my collecting. Once again, Capitol label. Almost looks like it came out the same year. F2123. This is F1964. It's got that same look. K-Star, not a big fan of hers. She's a little more operatic, but I picked it up. Wilson Pickett on Atlantic. And look at this. It's pretty beat up. It's probably, maybe a good plus. But ain't no doubt about it. And on the other side, Don't Let the Green Grass Fool You. So it could have been in this sleeve. It looks like a period sleeve. It's pretty beat up, but we're just sort of getting these for a good price, so I'm not worried. I'm not overpaying. I'm probably paying anywhere 25 to 50 cents a piece. The Delphonics. Once again, that Philly groove, Philly soul sound. If you're going to know soul, you got to familiarize yourself with that. And I love their sound. I remember a lot of their songs being on the radio, and they were sort of a big hit back in the day. Brenda Lee, Crazy Talk. I'm waiting for her to just explode. I know she's huge and she's famous, and I believe her big one was I'm Sorry, but I could be wrong. This is a 33 1/3 RPM. So at one point they thought they were going to be able to sell 33 1/3. Usually these have more than 2 songs. So Crazy Talk, 33 1/3. This will play on some jukeboxes. Mine has got an automatic crossover switch, which will play at the speed because of the smaller hole. You can actually get Led Zeppelin in this format. Very rare, very, very cool. But a 7-inch 33 1/3. Keep your eye open for those. There's a real niche for collecting those. Wilson Pickett, and I'm just picking up anything with Pickett on it because he's sort of the godfather of sort of the Memphis soul. Just trash. People Make the World. I mean, it's definitely maybe a good or a fair condition. But you know what? I'm not going for condition right now. I'm just going. But look at this. You say, oh, yeah. Look at how good a shape this is in. Probably originally was sold for 49 cents. The Isley Brothers Party Night. It's probably a later. It sounds like a. No, there you go. 1981. Welcome in My Heart. It's got some junk on it, but that'll clean up real nice. That could be, it's a very good, but it might have a little crack in it. I would probably call that a very good. Now, am I going to turn down a Roger Miller? No, Chug-a-Lug. You got to love that song. Remember this being played on the radio. Backed with Reincarnation. This guy was a great songwriter. If you're not familiar with his work, of course, King of the Road, but some people write him off as a novelty songwriter, but I think his songs were really cool. Fontella Bass. Bass. Rescue Me, I think, is their big one. But here she is on Checker, which, if you don't know, is a chess label. So just like Motown had several labels, so did Checker. So there you go. Let's take a break, and we'll come right back. Okay, let's continue working through that first stack of 45s. Our Day Will Come, Ruby and the Romantics. Great song. Well played. That's probably a good plus. But that is a great song you got to have. Fortunately, listening to a lot of oldies, 104.3, I know that song real well. Anything on the Apple label with an Apple sleeve, I suggest picking it up. Here's John and Yoko. And this record is just a mess. It's got a big scratch, but it's instant karma. You just don't see it. It's probably what I call a player. So it would probably play pretty well through all those scratches. Who knows? But the rarity intrigues me. B-side's pretty good. It's probably a very good. So that will be what I call, someone asked me, well, what's a placeholder? Placeholder is a record you buy, and it's not in the condition you want, but you hold it until you get a better one. The Marvelettes. It's probably a good. You get, these things have a patina. Don't get freaked out. You're collecting 45s. These aren't, you're not going to put them on a shelf and worship them. You're going to play them. My baby must be a magician, and I need someone. So that's an early one by the Joe Betts. It looks like it says 1967 on one side and 66. Motown's always got the date on there, so make sure you check that. And you say, well, it's not Motown. Tamla is a subsidiary of Motown, and actually I think the Tamla label came out first. So there we go. We're getting some good stuff. Okay. This just screamed like disco soul. So it's 70s. It says 79 on it. I think it'll clean up pretty good. It's got a little rub or a scuff. It'll probably clean up to a very good 29, featuring Lenny White peanut butter. It sounds like hot chocolate or something like that. Oh, Sylvie. So who knows? We'll see how that pans out. Hi. Now, I talked about that new documentary about Soul Town, which is Memphis. The High label is something, if you're into soul, you got to know that label. You see Al Green on there a lot. So Syl Johnson, I've seen him pop up. So now I'm just picking up anything on High. You got writing on the label. This probably could clean up to be a very good. It looks pretty rough now, but it definitely has potential. Labels, Fame. Like, look at how primitive this label is. Talk about one color. I've never heard of it. Oh, but it's distributed by VJ Records. Interesting. So that's right in my wheelhouse. VJ 498 is the holy grail. Lollipops, Lace, and Lipstick. So it sounds like something for the teen market. Maybe it's a doo-wop. Jimmy Hughes. So we're going to learn who Jimmy Hughes is, and we're going to find out a little bit about the Fame label at the same time. Swan, you see this? They had some early Beatles releases. 63, 64, I think. I think they had She Loves You. So you'll see a lot of old Beatles on Swan, and you get all excited until you realize they made several million. So it's an older label. You can see someone taped over. It's 2-color. It's pretty old. I'm going to date that in the mid-60s, probably 63, 64. Jamie Records, the Blackwells. I've heard of them. Everybody knows Unchained Melody, but did you ever hear the Blackwells version? So they're telling you this is 45 RPM, and this is out of Philly. So once again, they had a great soul sound out of Philly. It's got a star on it. It could be a promo. This side, Mansion on the Hill. We're going to definitely listen to that. Date, the Steelers. I think I've got a couple on this label by the Arbors, which were out of Ann Arbor. So I'm curious, and they just caught my eye. And for 50 cents, yeah, I'm picking it up. And you can tell by the label, you're getting into the 70s now. But Calhoun, Rain 2000, 1975. Warner Spector, it's like a Warner Brothers subsidiary probably. And Dance, Dance, Dance. So disco, is it R&B? Is it soul? What is disco? Is it dance music? If you talk to Norm, it's just great music. So I don't like to classify things as disco. The Northern Soul guys, they might say, no, it's just a great Northern Soul record. So I pick up anything that I think might be disco. Bo Diddley. I remember hearing Bo Diddley. I'm like, oh my gosh, he just goes on and on and on, chugging away that same riff. But you know what? He collects very well. Back to School. And I think that's his real name, Elias McDaniel. Checker. And anything related to chess or checker, pick it up. Because I would say Motown, chess, checker, or VJ. That's really, or, you know, you can get down to Memphis. But if you want to stay in that Lake Belt area, A Groovy Kind of Love. I love this song. If you don't know it, it's probably, I would call it pop psychedelia. Let's call it that. Love is Good, but the mind benders. So they're bending your mind there. All right, You Turn Me On. Really caught me was this Frito-Lay. It has nothing to do with the record, but they're always mismatched in 45s. But the condition's pretty good. Ian Whitcomb, You Turn Me On. And Poor But Honest. Tower Records. So let's see, it could be a 50-cent record and stay that way, or it could be a $5 record, or it could be a $50 record. Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey, my dad was a big friend of these guys. This caught my interest. It's a 78 RPM. So if you look at that, it tells you right there. So, you know, this was something they crossover. Even I think it's the original sleeve too, because you got 78 RPM there. It's definitely probably not collectible because, you know, people don't even know what to do with these things. But it's definitely an oddity, I would call. A 7-inch 78. So in this stack, we had a 7-inch 33 1/3 and a 7-inch 78. For all those records, I paid $14.98. So I'm happy with that. Emily is the one that's been helping me out. And I go in there about once a month. I give them enough time to restock. Don't show, you sort of know your shop. And I know it takes them a while to restock. I tell her, hey, get some more 45s. Which, yeah, well, we'll get them when we get them. And I told you that we got some LPs. But let's go through the rest of the, these 45s first, the other batch. All right, Valpo Vintage. And, all right, DetroitBob back at you. Make sure you click that little subscribe button in the lower right if you like this kind of stuff. And that way I can keep it going, and then hopefully we'll be doing this for a long time. Once again, I'm back in Valpo Vintage looking at 45s, but I've given them a couple months to restock. In other words, they don't get new stuff in every day. So I look through these, and I'm like, yeah, Spanky and our gang. Sunday will never be the same in distance. Pick it up. I'm on a soul kick right now, so anything's James Brown. I'll tell you what, someone used to play the hell out of this record, and you'll find that a lot with James Brown. He always says he's the producer, so James Brown, I think, was very proud of that fact. The Sex Machine, I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine Part 1, and I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine Part 2. This guy can just freaking rock it. And the more I hear his old stuff, I'm like, man, I missed out on something really, really good. I mean, I picked it up when he was on an album. Like, I think he had a similar version to the 28 Great that Chuck Berry did. The Jacksons, they grew up 15 miles from where I live. So, yeah, I am a big Michael Jackson fan. But I'm a big Thriller Michael Jackson fan, if that makes sense. So everybody knows I'll be there. This probably clean up to be a very good. Everybody used to put their name on the records, their initials, because when you went to parties, you didn't worry about these not having a sleeve on them. It wasn't like LPs. These have this label is raised. So when it stacks on top of another record, the surface doesn't even touch. And these grooves are cut so deep, they're different than LP grooves, that they don't skip as much. They actually throw out a little bit more sound and a little bit more information per millisecond because the speed is faster, if that makes sense. It's at 45 instead of 33. So, yeah, you might have scratches, but the minute the sound comes out off the record, that just covers up the scratches. I love the scratches. Remember, we were talking about Syl Johnson, and we saw him on that High label, and I'm like, oh, man, this is sort of like almost like It's homemade, but look at Joe Bett. That's Motown. And he's singing Get Ready, which is William Robinson, which is Smokey Robinson. So I'm like, this has got a lot of things that I look for. Sort of a homemade label, a subsidiary of a regular label, a name artist with a name song and a name writer, and a Syl Johnson production. So it looks sort of like a rarity, but you never know. Same kind of thing. And now you're talking about Syl doing his own thing. So it might be just the song here that's Joe Bett. But it looks like Syl went out on his own. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I pick up anything by Verve. They tend to be a jazz label, but they do have some blues. Anything with the word blues in it, and even if you don't know it, I would recommend picking it up. The Blues Project. I've got a couple others by them. And you can see I'm sort of hitting that mark. I'm looking at Stax now. And Stax and High were the big part of the Memphis sound. There's not the Memphis sound. Party Life. Once again, didn't we have that earlier? Johnny Taylor. Who's making love to your old lady while you were out making love, right? And this guy was living in Chicago, Illinois, so he's got his little sticker on there. And he put his initials on just in case, right? James Brown. And it says a James Brown production. Where it is, part 1. And it was so good that you had to flip it over. James Brown did a lot of that. He's like, screw it, I'm just going to keep jamming. So you got about 5 minutes of music, almost 6. Just got to have someone man the machine and flip it. This caught my eye because of the name. It's a French name. It almost looks like AMI Records, AVI Records. It's got that single color, 1977, Le Spank. So who knows? It might have been some French group, or it could have been somebody trying to be cool. Bill Withers, man. I'll tell you what. He is something else. Grandma's Hands. I discovered this song later off of Sirius XM, listening to like a soul, probably Soul Town. It's a great song. And I don't think it was a huge hit, but I would recommend getting familiar with this tune. This will clean up to probably a very good, once I get all the dust in. I use a cleaning solution with a microfiber cloth, and it works really, really good. The fuzz. Wow. If that doesn't sound like a psychedelic band, I don't know what else does. But it's sort of a Cala Records, and it looks to me to be obscure. You never know. This will clean up to be a very good. These things are going to really show brutally in these lights, but they're better than what they photograph as. Once again, the Jacksons. All I Do Is Think of You. Backed with Forever Came Today. So that's that. And this is just beat up as hell, but I love it. Like like Micah in American Pickers, he likes the motorcycles that are all beat up. He doesn't want them all new. So I love the patina on this. Pucker Up Buttercup. Any Way You Wanna. So this is probably a good at best, maybe even a fair. It's not a poor. But you'd be surprised. You clean these up and play them, and they play. It's not a collector's item. It may be a collector's item, but it's a player. The Stylistics, this is in pretty good shape. This is close to very good plus condition, but it's a promo copy. You see right there, 1975, the Stylistics. I think they're the one, Didn't I Blow Your Mind this time? It's either them or the Delphonics, but I'm quite sure they are a Philly band also. Van McCoy. You recognize that name, so you pick that one up. And here we have The Miracles, Smokey Robinson's band. I'll be seeing Smokey this Friday, and this will air. I'll see him tonight, so it's sort of cool. I'm collecting in my wheelhouse The Miracles right here. At some point, this may have been The Miracles after Smokey left them. So Love Machine, and they try to keep it going. And I don't know how great results they had with that, but it's on the Tamala record. It'll probably clean up to a very good. Curtis Mayfield, man. I go in to get my hair cut, and my hairdresser's listening to this, and she's quite a bit younger than I am. So, Superfly, everybody knows that. Freddie's Dead. But get this sort of not common stuff. Chances are they printed a lot less, and some of it's really, really, really good. And when you listen to stuff on 45, it's got a whole different sound. It's deeper, it's richer. A lot of times the song itself is different. It's a different take or a different cut. So make sure you give these some love and some play. Interesting. It looks like a radio station. Sheboygan's First Station. Wonderful town. I mean, probably a tourist production. Oh Holy Night. You know, who knows? This is probably a one-off gimmick, but you never know. It could have been Oh Holy Night sung by, you know, John Lee Hooker or something. But it's Reverend Joseph Warner. Huh. Elektra, you love that label. The Doors used to use that label, and so did Iggy and the Stooges. But they also had this mellow band called Bread, Make It With You. And every teenage girl my sister's age had the Best of Bread. And Make It With You is a big one on that. All right, here we're going back into Verve. Remember I said pick up anything on Verve. Time on Your Side. You're Only 15 Years Old. Friend and Lover. Friend and Lover, Reach Out of the Darkness. That's a pretty big hit, I believe. Okay, The Girl Is Mine. This is the Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney collaboration. Why they did the small hole on this, I don't know. It's 45 RPM, and it's a one-sided 45. So people, what's that? Do not play this side. So this was, you know, really, really... You know, here, we're going to give you the song, play this side, and it's sort of a unique thing just to promote this song, The Girl Is Mine. It was a pretty big hit. It was played on MTV a lot. I love this old wooden nickel in Styx Lady. This is way before Styx got huge. They were huge in the Midwest. This is 1971. This is a huge hit for them in the Midwest, and it's really, really, I think, one of their best songs. But long before their big breakthrough. Apollonia. Well, anything by Prince or his entourage is very collectible. If you remember, Vanity left, and then he did Purple Rain with Apollonia. So she had some songs. In a Spanish Villa. Sex Shooter, there it is. That was the big hit. Her big solo hit. I think it came out right after Purple Rain. But she got some airplay on MTV, and I think she's on the poster. As a matter of fact, hang on, don't move. I think that is Apollonia on the back of Prince's motorcycle. So there you go. So she was sort of, I think probably Vanity was supposed to do that movie, but there was probably a fallout. I don't know. So there you go. I believe that's Apollonia. Okay, so I'm looking for funk and soul. I don't know. This is just seemed to be an obscure label. 83. Picked it up. James Brown. You're going to see this label a lot. Papa Don't Take No Mess, Part 1 and Part 2. There he goes again with that Part 2 stuff. So I'm going to give these a good listen. This is going to be fun, categorizing these. All right, let's take a break and we'll go through the rest of these. All right, we're back. This is DetroitBob. I'm going through these just like I do in the store and telling you what I look at and why I buy certain records. I'm in a soul kick. Here you got 1973, James Brown. He's got the full afro. He always puts down if he's a James Brown production. I love that. And he does a lot of these two-parters. So there it is, the Payback Part 1 and Part 2. And that's a nasty little scratch right there, but I'm going to keep that. I'm going to buy that all day long until I get one better. So once I start refining and I can get better condition, of course I'm going to, everybody knows Super Bad, right? And when the guys who made that movie, it's just such a great title.
Super Bad. You see a lot of movies with song titles. So I wonder if they played the song during the movie. That would be hilarious. So you got Super Bad, part 1 and part 2. Now he said, screw it, I'm doing a part 3. King Records, and the label changed a lot. There's a lot of label variations on James Brown stuff. Interesting. You could do just a whole James Brown. Now here's that Van McCoy, the Disco Kid. I'm pretty sure he did The Hustle. Or no, he was associated with something. One of the huge disco hits. Van McCoy, The Party. So that looks like a party, and looks like it's out of New Jersey. H&L Records. Okay, this label looked really obscure. And turn this mother out on Kudo Records. Idris Muhammad. Dave Matthews. I don't think that's the same Dave Matthews that you're thinking of. This is 1977. So it looks obscure, and it looks sort of funky, soulish. Once again, James Brown starting to recognize these, right? Part 1, Public Enemy. Now you look at it, I wonder why they named their band Public Enemy, you know? My Thang. There you go. It's actually 2 songs. Bobby Darin, Mac the Knife. Nice clean copy. Maybe not. It's a very good. It's well played, but this will play nice. And this lady named Cookie, or a girl named Cookie, owned it. So that's always cool. And she stapled it on there. She didn't want anybody to take a record at a party. That's why she did that. Curtis Mayfield. You see anything? He's hot right now. He's got sort of a sweet, soft voice, you know, but his bass grooves are just really, really good. I'm not sure if he was a bass player or not, but I'm pretty sure he composed and wrote almost all his own stuff and produced it too. Because he calls his records Kurtum. You're a winner. You're a winner. So he's on his own. Okay, you get, this is a classic Warner Brother label. Mason Williams, I love him. He's known for classical gas. But that was like his one-hit wonder. So when I saw this, I'm like, oh, there's something else by him. So I picked that up. Witchcraft by Elvis. It's a good one. And what's the B-side? Bossa Nova, baby. So that's a good twofer. It's a little beat up, but this will play nice at a party. And you can just flip it right over. RCA. I believe they're out of Indianapolis, but that's their famous. I think RCA bought out Victrola. And that's how you got RCA Victor. So back in the old day, that was the old turntable right there. And that was your speaker, was a horn. So the famous logo of the dog listening to the horn. And that was like a wind-up record player. Not far away from what Edison invented. Here's that Bread band on Elektra. Baby, I'ma Want You. And at this point, Elektra went to this caterpillar. And some of them, and one side's the butterfly. So they were sort of, they took a chance on Iggy and the Stooges and MC5 too. Let's see. The Singing Nun. I think she did the great version of Our Father in the early 70s. So this is what you would call a novelty. But there's probably some Singing Nun collectors out there. We'll see. It could be a double hit series. The sleeve match, the condition's pretty good, so I picked it up. This looked interesting in terms of the artwork, and I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theater in some kind of art history or film history class. I know there's Man with the Golden Gun, Jimmy Dean. I don't even know how this thing opens up. Here we go. The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit, backed with Delilah Jones. Based on the main title theme from The Man with the Golden Gun. So it looks a little film noir, which I love. And I love that sort of Hitchcock look to it. It may have been a Hitchcock movie. Pretty cool. Let's move on. And we have
a Mercury label. The Diamonds. You got to know this one. Little darling. Dun, 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 bum, 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 dun, 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 dun. I think that would be considered early, like, doo-wop. And it's definitely early rock and roll. This is probably a reissue. It's got a little chip on the corner there, but it's pretty clean. It's going to clean up to probably a very good if it weren't for the chip, but it'll play great. And it's got a Mercury sleeve to go with it. That's pretty rough shape, but probably didn't get a lot of play. So I'll replace that sleeve ASAP. But that's a good one to have in your collection. Now we're getting into some sleeves. Who knows what this is? Loose ends. You know, everybody was trying to move on from Motown and be the next cool thing in the 80s. And Rick James did it. DeBarge did it. But there was a lot of one-hit wonders. I'm not familiar with this song. But it was in a nice picture sleeve. And who knows? One of these guys could have gone on and become a star. I'll check it out. Yakety Yak by the Coasters. So you got to have that. In the Atco sleeve. That's a good one. Daddy Dewdrop. Don Jacob Jinglehammer Smith. This one I'll probably put in my jukebox for my grandkids. Because I used to play that song for my kids. And Chicka Boom, don't you just love it? That was a hit. Chicka Boom. So this might have some value. It's in pretty darn good shape. All right, let's do it. I Found a Love. Atlantic. The Falcons in band. Ohio Untouchables. It sounds like a... Here you go. The Land of 10,000 Dances by Chris Jenner. A lot of people did that song and had a hit with it. Stephen Stills. Okay. He tried to make it solo, and he did. And he's part of the Byrds. Or no, he's actually part of Buffalo Springfield, but that whole West Coast movement. So he's historically significant. And he played at Woodstock. Paul Anka. Some you know, this was like the teen heartthrob for a while. So you go. There you go. Melanie. Take a look at her. Brand new key. She had a huge hit with it. There, I picked it up. All right. Last one. Quentin's theme. Brad Swanson. Thunderbird Records. Who knows? It could have been Sweet Georgia Brown. We'll see what it is. I paid $25 for those records. And so I get about, 50 records for 25 bucks. What, 50 cents a piece? I'm going to do that. All right, real quick on these 78s, and then we'll go through the reason I picked this up, and it's scratched as hell, but it's Stardust by Hoagy Carmichael, written by Hoagy Carmichael. And if you know anything about Indiana, he's probably our greatest songwriter. He also wrote Georgia on My Mind, and I believe Up a Lazy River, along with some really, really big hits. If you're not familiar with this song, listen to, I would say, Willie Nelson's version, but also Nat King Cole's version. Everybody, it's a jazz standard. So everybody does Stardust. I love the song. It's probably one of my favorite songs, not just of jazz, but of all genres. I'm curious just to see if this will play. I think it will. I mean, it's pretty scratched up. These will break if you drop them. Hong Kong Blues. So anything with the word blues on 78, I would pick up, even if it wasn't Hoagy. But this one just jumped right out at me. So I paid, 50 cents for that. Now, right next to it was the Mills Brothers. It was a big favorite of my dad, so I just picked this up. I don't know these songs, but I'll listen to them probably today. And they were great vocally, off the charts good, really good. All right, let's take a break, and I'll go through those LPs, and then we'll total all this up, and we'll even go through that cassette that I picked up. Okay, and also I forgot to go over these LPs. There's about 3 or 4 stops that I like to go to when I go out to Valpo, and one of them is a Goodwill store. So sure enough, this nice, clean Floyd Kramer, Sing Along with Floyd Kramer. And I collect 45s, but I pick up LPs on the way. And I like to do it that way because I'm a little bit more discriminating on my LPs.
But if you're not familiar with Floyd Kramer, he is the Hall of Fame pianist that played on just about all the big country labels and with a lot of the artists. And he's got a really distinctive sound. So if you're not familiar with him, check him out. Jerry Mulligan, I first became familiar with when I started listening to Chet Baker. And I sort of discovered that West Coast jazz when CDs first came out. So he's got some good stuff. This isn't big value stuff, the great Jerry. And these guys were sort of getting lost with the rock and roll typhoon that was going on. But they're great, great jazz artists, and Jerry can play a mean sax. This caught my eye because anything that says Fillmore on it. And it's sort of got the psychedelic Fillmore, Stanley Mouse, Alton Kelly lettering there. So I picked it up, and it's sort of a throwaway. Now, this is really cool. This Willis Jackson Blue Gator. Anything on Prestige label, I had to put it in this sleeve because it was all split up. But when you're talking old vintage blues, that is really cool. And Little Bobby will own this. I love when there's names. And so I love this. This is totally screams vintage, Prestige, blue guitar, Willis Jackson, Blue Gator, Try a Little Tenderness. We all know that one from Wilson Pickett. And this is just screaming early blues, limited run, limited pressing. And I haven't given it a listen, but Little Bobby did, because there he is. He's front and back. He doesn't want anybody stealing that record. Latin music, I've really gotten to enjoy. I sort of got into it from Girl from Ipanema, and I created a playlist on Spotify around that. So I'm really starting to get into that sound. And when I see something that says Cooperación Latina, I pick it up. And that's sort of looking pretty cool. It looks like could have an early war vibe. So I'll pick this up. You got to love this one just for the cover. I mean, is that a badass cover? It looks like Easy Rider. It probably was a response to Easy Rider. And badass cover. And last but not least, the gem of the week. And yes, I'm a 45 collector, but look at this. What is it? Well, it's Lord Tanimal Festival Jump Up, released in 1965 in Jamaica on Gay Disc Records. What's the genre? The genre is reggae pop, but the style is ska, calypso, ballad. So ska music had that 80s revival. If you remember bands like the English Beat and the Specials, in those bands that were just picking it right up. Even the Police picked up on that. It's like fast-paced reggae. Now look at this. This is just right out of Kingston, Jamaica. You don't find this early reggae that much. Okay, they didn't have the printing and pressing capacity. So these are like very small issue, I'm sure. Very, very simplistic. It's a little beat up, but look at how old that label is. So I looked it up, and sure enough, 145 people want this, and only 15 have it. That's the most skewed ratio I've ever seen between wants and haves. Its median value is $419. I think I paid 75 cents for this, okay? It's one of my secret spots. And high value of $489. So I listed it. I listened to it, yeah. But I listed it for like $480. One of them sold for $1,500. There's one for sale right now for $1,800. Take that back. So very cool, very vintage. I looked the guy up. He ended up joining, I believe they're called the Scatolites, which became sort of the band that sort of brought that fast-paced reggae long before Bob Marley really hit it big. That was a sound, and it got rediscovered in the 70s, late 70s, by bands like I said, the Specials, English Beat, Selector, even like early Police stuff had a little bit of that reggae beat going, mainly out of Britain. So that was very, very cool. Gem of the week. And I jump up. It made me, the first thing I thought was the the Jump Up song by made famous in Wisconsin football games. Jump up, jump around. You know the one. Who knows? Maybe they stole that beat or that sound from this guy, Lord Tanamo. But look at that cool-ass guy. Look at that cool-ass suit. If you see early Bob Marley pictures, yeah, he's dressed like that too. They all had suits and ties, and they were trying to break in and look like their Motown counterparts back in the day. But look at the cool dance. What a find. What a find. All right, we're going to sum it all up, and we'll tell you what all this stuff is worth. And we're going to definitely go back to Valpo because I got 3 or 4 stops now where I'm getting some good stuff like this, some blues and some soul. Until then. Hey, this is DetroitBob. The name of the channel is RockMine. The name of the show is RockMine, and it's on YouTube. So click that little button on the lower right and subscribe. Boy, did we have a good time finding these records. It's about 5 trips to Valpo, and I pulled some out of the Goodwill. Valpo Vintage was a big hit with the soul records, and I always find some good LPs along the way. And sure enough, the value was there. I only paid $63 for all those records, $63.35. And the value on those, $845. It helps when you average in that Lord Tanamo Jamaican LP, an early ska gem that was our gem of the week. It's a $400 record. So I'm not even going to give you the high value anymore because the median value on these R&B and soul and early Jamaican records is through the charts. And it just shows you how much people are starting to appreciate Americana, and specifically the old blues, soul, Jamaica, reggae. This is our history, and every one of these records is a little nugget of American history, or the Western history of sound, if you will. So you're learning about geography, you're learning about politics, you're learning about different regions and sounds and how they developed along this technological advance where we could make recorded music for only the last 100+ years. So it's really a phenomenon that people are just starting to examine in retrospect. What a great time to be alive and listening to old rock and roll, blues, soul, jazz, and reggae. So subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and we will see you next Friday. And what a great time making this and bringing it to you guys. So I want to keep doing that, and I will drop another episode next Friday. See you then.